Hello and welcome to Business Standard Dialogue. This is a webinar series that we started recently, and today we'll be having the 6th episode of this webinar. And the topic is something that we are all talking about all the time. Newspapers have headlines on them, and these are also dinner table talk. Pull of the magic pill is the topic. And yes, we are talking about the weight loss drugs that have filled the Indian market recently. I'm Nivedita Mookerji, your host. Meet the panelists. Dr. Alka Jha, she's a diabetologist from Fortis Healthcare. Welcome to the show, Dr. Jha.
Thank you, Nivedita.
Ms. Sheetal Sapale, she's a Vice President, Commercial at It's a healthcare technology company. It's a B2B company, which is actually which connects the dots in the sector. Is that right?
Yes.
And we have Sohini Das. She tracks pharma and healthcare from Mumbai. She's from Business Standard. Welcome to the show, Sohini.
Thank you.
As you can see, it's an all-women show. That's something special. And on that high note, we'll start. With Ms. Sapale. Is it actually a magic pill for the industry? How do you look at it? How is the India market doing? What is the growth like? If you can just talk about that.
Yeah, I would say it's a magic pill from the company's perspective because this is a market disruptor innovation that has come in the market. The companies have got something sort of magic solution that is they're providing to the industry, to the in general population, and this is something different. Like there have been so many innovator brands or innovator molecules like SGLT2s or DPP4 inhibitors. But then the type of efficacy and the demand that this type of product has shown in the market is quite phenomenal. Of course, in terms of value, also quite a lucrative thing. And we have seen that good number of companies are also tapping this opportunity. And because of lot of social media awareness that has been created by Eli Lilly or Novo Nordisk, the innovators, the general inquisitiveness in the market about this drug is also there. So collectively, not just the pharma companies, but in general, the population sees this as a magic pill.
What are the growth? What is the growth trajectory so far?
The growth trajectory has been quite phenomenal because same time last year, if you look at the anti-obesity market, it was just a 500 crore market. And today it's a 1700 crore market. So the market has more than tripled in 1 year. Just after the launch of the injectables in the GLP-1 agonist market. So that is something which talks also about the adoption and the willingness of the doctors to try these drugs for patients who are eligible. If I were to just talk about the injectables market, I mean, the number 1700 crore I told about is the orals as well as the injectables together. But if I were to talk only about the injectables market, a 140 crore market last year, and today it's a 1400 crore market. So it's a 10 times jump that the market has seen. While the innovators also have seen a good opportunity in terms of making it more affordable. So Novo Nordisk did bring down their price, but then the highly affordable generics that have come in the market have actually made this drug available to a significant class of patients. So the monthly consumption has almost doubled after the generics have come in the market. So the growth that this product has shown has been also really very encouraging.
We'll go over to the doctor now, Dr. Jha. Do you also see it as a magic pill? And how big is the magic really in the medical world?
Yeah. So my answer may vary actually from the Sheetal one, right? So there is a biggest, misconception about this therapy in general population. They are considering as a magic injection, a permanent solution for the obesity without much changing in the behavioral. And this leads to a misunderstanding, and they develop an unrealistic expectation in our patients, and later on leads to the frustrations. If you're on these injections, actually you need a lifestyle modification more stringent, than the otherwise without medication. So these patients requires a stringent lifestyle and the nutritional guidance. It's a magic pill only for those patients who on these injections they do change in their lifestyle and they do the muscle building and all. Otherwise, if you're not doing it under with supervision, then this drug may not be a magic pill for those patients. If you look at the from the clinical point of view, they have shown a lot of improvement in the other organ systems, like improvement in the metabolic health, in the liver health, cardiac health. From that point of view, that the drug is actually considered as a magic pill, but it should be supervised with a doctor.
So everyone is talking about risks involved. As a doctor, do you see it as a risky pill?
Actually, if you want a sustainable weight loss in terms of clinical profile, the it need a proper physician evaluation and patient counseling. So these are the two important pillars whenever you are starting this medication, so that the risk can be minimized. So the appropriate selection of the patients, ruling out the contraindications, selection of a right drug, then long-term monitoring, proper nutritional guidance, structured workout, they all are very important if you want to minimize the risk regarding these medications. If you start it without just for the cosmetic purpose, without ruling out contraindications, without follow-up, then definitely they can lead to a number of risks associated with it.
Next, we go to the journalist. Sohini, you've been tracking this story for a very long time. You've cracked the news. You've done long-form stories on this. So what is your perception? How is it shaping up? And have you seen anything like this before while covering the sector, pharmaceutical sector?
Yeah, very good question, Nivedita, because we see, patented drugs going off patent and it democratizes the market. The volumes go up, something that Sheetal alluded to. She mentioned how the volumes have gone up. We've seen, I'll just take two examples, both in the diabetes category. DPP-4s, gliptins, when they went off patent, MSD had a drug, Januvia, sitagliptin. Once it went off patent, the prices crashed from, I think, rupees 45 to rupees 5 a pill. So lots of doctors started prescribing it. What happens typically is diabetes treatment in India happens or starts with a general practitioner. Then some go to cardiologists for a cardio-diabetic kind of a medication. But even more expensive pills tend to be prescribed by the specialists. But as the prices crash, the general practitioners also start prescribing those pills and the volumes pick up. We saw this with the SGLT2 as well. Now, that has a similarity, in my opinion, with the GLP-1 rush, because SGLT2 or gliflozins, as we call them, dapagliflozin, an AstraZeneca drug, it had very strong scientific data that it has benefits for CKD or chronic kidney disease patients, or it has cardioprotective function. So there was a study, clinical study in 2021 around that time. And so that drug was picked up not just by diabetologists, but also cardiologists preferred it over using another diabetic drug. So we saw this spillage or a drug crossing over to other areas. But the speed with which GLP-1 drugs have done that is unprecedented. And I think the major differentiator here is the patient, the earlier diabetes drugs remained in the clinic. Here it has actually become a dining table discussion. Patients are very aware. They are probably asking the doctor to prescribe this drug, which is why I think it's unprecedented to something we've covered in the last decade in terms of, patent expiry and volume expansion. There is a different story to this drug altogether, I would say.
Right, Sohini. Thanks for that perspective. Ms. Sapale, I'll come to you on the speed of adoption, the speed of growth that Sohini mentioned. As an industry person, how do you look at it? And recently, there has been some regulatory alarm, and the drug regulator has said that there should be greater surveillance on unauthorized sale. So how do you manage it since you are part of that ecosystem?
Yeah, what we have seen is the moment drugs go off patent, the generics come at a significantly lower price. So the price is almost 50% to that what a innovator comes in the market. But this time we have seen actually the prices are much, much lower. Generics are available in the range of anywhere between 1200 rupees to 3500, max 4000 rupees. And also, many of the generics have played the USP of, you can have multiple doses from a single syringe. So that is what they are trying to promote, that this is a very user-friendly syringe that we are providing, and all the clinical trials are done. But then, because of a lot of social advertising, patients are themselves going to the doctors, and we have also seen that it's not just the doctors who are in a position to administer these drugs, but we are seeing many beauty clinics like VLCC or other clinics are also trying to have this as a package of their beauty treatment, which is incorrect. And before even GLPs went off patent, semaglutide injections went off patent, government had brought in a lot of regulations to ensure that only the registered practitioners or authorized doctors write this. But still, we have also seen that many generic companies have gone ahead and promoted this product to the specialities who probably the innovator companies didn't go to. They didn't go to gynecologists, they did not go to certain PCOS as an indication, but then many companies have gone ahead and promoted in this indication, and that is where it became very important and mandatory for the government to take some action, because it is the patients who are not eligible or who are not supposed to take this, who need not take this injection, they are the ones who may end up taking this injection. So government regulation definitely has become important. Still, even with that sort of regulation, we have seen that the consumption has doubled over the period, before the patent loss. So the consumption definitely has moved up, and somewhere it is the specialities and super specialities, the doctors who still believe in the innovators, they still try to stick to the innovator drugs. It is the lower specialities like a CP or a GP, or since the promotion is happening to a gynecologist also, they are the ones who usually go to the generics. But then are they in a position to map the patients? Are they in a position to decide who is the eligible patient? Are they in a position to actually titrate the dose correctly or manage the side effects? That is a big concern that everybody is facing today.
Dr. Jha, do you have patients coming to you and asking you or requesting you that, can I use this drug? Because I have heard that this is a real good one.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are flood initially when this injection started coming up and there was a boom in the social media. Patients usually come to us with a direct demand, for the injections. Even they were not in a category for medically, obese category. But mostly these kinds of demands, they were driven by some some wedding or some event, or they just overlook appearance they want. So demand is definitely increasing. And secondly, because of the social media, you must have seen there are a lot of transformational stories and reels on these issues. So people get easily influenced and trapped by these kinds of advertisement. But it is not as I mentioned, it's a magic pill unless until it is given by some supervised person or was trained in prescribing these kinds of medications, because they are still not very side effect free. Like I'm sitting in a corporate sector. I have seen using this medication for 9 to 8 months, and I have seen 2 patients of pancreatitis with this medication. So just to highlight that it is not side effect free, there are so many side effects associated with this and need a proper guidance and supervision.
But how widely are doctors adopting this?
It again, as ma'am discussed, that in those patients who are in urban cities, they are adopting it very well. But still, the patients who are sitting in a primary centers or in the rural areas, they are not very open to these medications. They are still going for the oral, the traditional one, the GLP oral semaglutide. For the injection one, there are some hesitation still there because they need some kind of education also.
And do you think the regulatory structure in India is fine, or how should
No,
we how should we go about it? What should be done
actually,
really? As a doctor, what would you say?
Yeah, there are some special, indications has been formulated for the use of these medications. Like a person is having obesity of more BMI of more than 27 and having some obesity-related comorbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, or the cardiovascular disorder, PCOS. Then in that situation, you can use it medications of the patient is having a BMI of more than 30. But they should be in a supervised way. There, the unauthorized usage in like in obstructive sleep apnea or the metabolic liver disorders or PCOD is still not recommended. So definitely we need some kind of regularities to look at this matter so that it gets misuse can be avoided.
Sohini, when you are covering this story related to these drugs, what is it that the regulator is telling you? What is being done? Is there any step that is being thought of that has not been taken earlier?
See, I mean, the drug comes in the Schedule H category. Technically, all these drugs need to be consumed under supervision, and they are only to be dispensed by a pharmacy with a valid prescription. But as we know that in India, there is over-the-counter sale of antibiotics or several other drug categories which are supposed to be only sold under a prescription are available. So I think because there is a public frenzy around this drug, as the doctor also rightly mentioned, that patients are coming up and asking for this, which is why the drug regulator has issued, I think in March, they issued an advisory, much more tighter surveillance at a chemist level, and the state FDAs could spring into action. There could be, surprise visits and tracking down of how this drug is being consumed. That is very easy. At a manufacturer level also, that can be tracked down, that from the manufacturer to the CNF to the wholesaler, distributor, retailer, how it flows, and who is the end consumer. So the drug regulator has rightly, taken up the, point matter pretty seriously, because the misuse of this could lead to, there have been cases, not in India, but globally we've seen that there are side effects, as Ms. Jha was pointing out too. There have been side effects with eye or pancreas. So obviously the drug regulator has taken note of. But technically the drug comes in Schedule H, which is any which way likely to be dispensed with a valid prescription.
Ms. Sapale, the popularity of this drug, who is it, that who is it that who's buying the drug more? Is it the Gen X? Is it the elderly population? Is there any gender-wise segmentation? Is there any age-wise, you have noticed?
So we have noticed certain patterns. First, let us talk about the geography-wise patterns. So when initially when things were still under patent protection for both the Mounjaro and the Wegovy, we had tried to study within Mumbai city, where is the consumption relatively higher. That time we had noticed that the consumption is relatively higher in the affluent pockets of Mumbai. We had seen Bandra, Andheri, Kulaba. The affluent pockets of Mumbai was the place where the consumption was relatively higher, and we also tried to map the type of doctors. So there were a lot of anti-obesity doctors, VLCC clinics, and other those beauty clinics which were more in these localities. After things went off patent, we realized that several pockets of Mumbai has seen an increase in consumption. So probably it was earlier the affording population who was consuming, but now many people within Mumbai started consuming this. Many people in the sense the eligible patients probably. We also try to look at the consumption across metros and the lower metros. So, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta. Collectively, these four mega metros contribute to more than 40% of the unit consumption. So, major consumption is happening in these mega metros. Also, when I said the consumption almost doubled, it went from say 150 to 300,000 units. The maximum incremental was seen in these mega metros only. While the other smaller cities, we saw some consumption increase. But then the rapid rise has been seen in these mega metros, probably for two reasons. One is the super specialty doctors do sit in these places. Also, since these are mega metros, lifestyle diseases, the incidence of obesity and lifestyle diseases, as well as awareness, may be on a relatively higher side, and the sheer population of the city. So that may be one of the reasons where we are seeing the consumption still, on a higher side being restricted to mega metros, whereas, other small towns have definitely picked up. Also, as far as the age-wise consumption is concerned, we are realizing that it's more of the people between the age group of, say, between 25 to 40, 45 are the ones where the consumption is higher. Probably it's a population which is still having a very active social life. Image becomes very important. Probably after the age of 50 you really don't care. I don't say you don't care, but then managing your obesity through injections, unless and until it's a life threatening condition, it really doesn't matter. And below the age of, say, 50, 20, or below the age of 25, still the candidate may be considered to be a relatively young candidate to be exposed to this sort of injection. So it is more, little population which is still in the age of earning population, earning age group. Probably that is the age group where the consumption is seen on a relatively higher side.
How far are we from penetrating the rural markets? Is there any effort being done at this point to
Yeah.
get into make inroads there actually?
Yes, see, if you look at the partnerships which the innovators have done, so innovators have done partnership with a company like Cipla or with a company like MCure, which has got a significant rural reach. They have tried to do it. Also, the price band at which generics have come in the market, say 1200 rupees, Alkem has come with the maximum number of SKUs. So if the price range is between 1200 rupees to 2000 rupees, it's still an affordable option as compared to what innovators are available at. However, we also need to look at the convenience and the inhibition that a person from a rural place would have for this set of products against a person in a city, because it's a very common thing we see. Probably, we have interacted with people who are on these drugs in a city. That may not be still the case in a rural place. Also, many people, since it's an injectable, people are comfortable going to the doctor and taking this injection once a week rather than self-injecting. That sort of convenience may not be available in the lower town classes or rural areas. It's more available in the cities. So rural consumption is there in sporadic way, but will take time. It will take significant time in the country.
Sohini, how are you looking at the competition in this space, and is anyone getting affected because of this competition, huge competition? Is any category getting affected because of this?
You mean a therapy category?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I mean, this drug is obviously, as the speakers have been mentioning, for PCOS, or let's say fatty liver disease. If you lose weight, then the disease has a tendency to reverse. So there will be, beyond diabetes or beyond endocrinologists, there more doctors or specialists would be prescribing this drug, and that would lead to wider adoption. But that would also lead to a situation where we need to have enough supplies. I think that is a question will come later during the discussion on the manufacturing of the drug, and globally, since we have seen a scarcity. Secondly, oral semaglutides are now being launched, and oral semaglutides would require almost 75% more API than the injectable. So that means the entire manufacturing economics will also change. So every manufacturer, major player who is launching it in India, some have they are building capabilities. Let's say Dr. Reddy's is. The others have tied up with contract manufacturers, and those companies, like let's say a One Source, Newland, they are expanding their capacity. So this competition is definitely happening between therapy segments, because multiple doctors will be prescribing. Will that eat into the share of other drugs which were being prescribed? that I think Dr. Jha could, from a clinical perspective, she could offer a better view.
Yeah,
But definitely, I think it will also lead to offtake of vitamins and micronutrients, because since it is making you less hungry, that is the mechanism of action. So you're not feeling hungry, you're eating less. That is why you're losing weight. So you're also missing out on some very key nutrients. So probably the prescription would also have prescriptions for vitamins. Sheetal could highlight if there has already been, an increase in offtake for certain kinds of vitamins and micronutrients.
Right. Dr. Jha, would you like to take it up from where Sohini left?
Yeah, so as rightly mentioned, these medication basically they are given to, for the weight management, and their mechanism of action is it suppresses the appetite. So many of our patients they don't feel eating for the whole day, but that's not a right sign also, because our nutrition still needs are still there. So we need little bit of nutrition to maintain our normal body function. So many of patients are they become they want a rapid weight loss, so they stop eating for a long time. So that can lead to a development of multiple nutritional deficiency, vitamins deficiency, muscle loss. This is the talk of the day. Like muscle loss is very important whenever your patient is starting on these GLP-1 receptor analogs. So when you are in a weight loss journey, this muscle acts as a treasure of your body. When you gain muscles, your metabolism goes up, the functional capacity goes up, the physical strength goes up, and not this, they help in maintaining the sustainability of this lost weight. That's why the preserving muscle is very important. So it's important that patient take a good care of their diet. They take a high protein of diet. Always consider taking about 15 to 20 grams in each meal. There should be a protein content. Then sometimes nutritional deficiency. So there should be supplements with all kinds of vitamins to avoid excessive hair fall, loosening of skin. So they should be taken care whenever you are giving these medications for a long time.
Dr. Jha, you must be talking to your international counterparts on this drug. What is their experience?
See, the experience is better than ours because from in our scenario, the patient education is very important. And sitting in a clinical busy clinic, seeing about 30 patients, guidance, appropriate guidance to the patients is lacking somewhere. So many of our, whenever we are discussing our group, so many of doctors they don't give them 5 minutes regarding this education part, and which is very important when you are starting this medication. So in our scenario, we have seen more of the weight loss, more of the muscle loss, nutritional deficiency. We are seeing commonly as compared to their counterparts there because they are little more educated, more learned, so they understand the benefit. Taking the adequate amount of energy when calorie when they are on these medications. So in that part, we are different. Otherwise, the efficacy wise, we are okay. And secondly, in terms of weight loss response, we are showing better results as compared to the counterpart because we harbor more visceral fat. So this drug is doing more wonder in our category of patients than compared to the Western population.
Okay. Sapale, Sohini mentioned a bit about manufacturing. What is really happening on the manufacturing front?
So basically, there are a very few companies in the country who are authorized manufacturers. And definitely, as the demand increases, there is going to be a shortage problem because now even DRL has got permission to export this good to the other countries. So as the demand in other countries increase, probably the availability in India may face a challenge. So yes, as the unit consumption moves up, availability, the most of the companies, there are close to 20 companies who are actively promoting this drug in the country, actively marketing this drug in the country. They should be in a position to supply this product for a very long time because once you get a patient, the patient will have a repeat purchase. And usually switching of brands doesn't happen in this category of product, especially if it's an injectable. So availability, if it is not managed properly by the companies, it will be a challenge. Also, what we have seen is whenever the products go off patent, many companies jump into that entire opportunity to make the most of it, but it is ultimately a few players who stick around. So right now we are seeing few major players like Torrent, Zydus, DRL, Sun Pharma. They will stick around. So more or less, there will be 4 to 5 companies who will continue making the most of this market. Others may phase out gradually. But yes, if the patient population, if it is going to increase, it will not increase exponentially, but steadily it will keep on increasing. Availability would be a challenge if the APIs are not available in the right amount.
I have a question for all three of you. You can take it and offer your perspective. That is, what is the social side of the story? Ms. Sapale, you can give your views.
Yeah, social side of the story is because of social media, uh, the people feel that we have a solution available for obesity, and more than health perspective, it has been promoted as a solution for me looking good, me, being socially acceptable, which may be a marketing gimmick, but then the patient needs to look at it beyond that. They need to look at it as something which is going to make me internally healthy. Right now, somewhere I feel that it is more of a image booster, that many of the patients, even whether it is the eligible patients or the patients who are going for only the cosmetic aspect of it, they are focusing only on that aspect. But it's a very probably a very good drug with a lot of R&D that has come in, but it needs the advantages of that drug need to be pursued properly by the patient consuming it.
Yeah, Dr. Jha,
Yeah,
what do you
totally
think?
agree. Totally agree with ma'am also, because recently these days, because of the hype, this drug is taken as a lifestyle modification for the cosmetic purpose, which should not be there. So ideal selection of the patient, appropriate dose escalation, proper guidance is important if you actually want to see the benefit of this drug in our population. So its misuse should be should be avoided in any of our patients.
Sohini?
Yeah, I think this drug is doing something very interesting. As we were discussing in the beginning, that have we seen something like this in the last few decades? See, if once people are losing weight, they are buying new clothes. That is, so there are studies and there are news reports around the world which is capturing this trend. And I think there was a Morgan Stanley report as well that it is a positive for the apparel industry, maybe. But at the same time, people are eating less, people are being more conscious, they're having less food noise, that I am craving for food. So the restaurant and the fast food industry may suffer. So this drug is probably, I mean, growing out of just the obesity and diabetes management kind of a story into a social and our popular culture in a much bigger way. Secondly, is this also reviving a discussion around, some pressure on body image? And is that healthy? I mean, is that creating any kind of psychological pressure? Something that Sheetal pointed out, that people in the age bracket of 25 to 45 are more prone to take this injectable. And beyond that, unless it's a morbid condition, people may not go for an injectable. So this probably is stemming from that body image consciousness. And I think, that OTT series, which on Bollywood Wives, which popularized, they took the name Ozempic. And so the reels and the meme culture and popular culture, I think this drug has truly been the talk of the town in a positive and a negative way. If we are eating less fast food, that is good. But if we are being, if we have body dysmorphia, that is probably not desirable.
Surely talk of the town. Dr. Jha, there are a large number of questions coming from the audience, and most questions are around safety. So people are concerned. While it is a popular drug, no doubt, as we've seen, but the question that emerges is, how safe are the drugs? So if you have to just say in, briefly, how safe are the drugs, what do you have to say?
As I mentioned before, the drug is safe, not having much side effects, but it should be given. It should be, the patient selection is very important. So this drug is associated with a very mild, some GI symptoms like causing nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, loose motion, GI side effects. But these kind of side effects can be prevented by a little bit of, tips or maintaining hydration, taking good amount of proteins and all. Apart from that, there are some rare side effects like it can cause rarely pancreatitis, some inflammation in the pancreas organ. That is also one of the side effects. Then, as per the literature, if you go, then these kind of drugs should be avoided in the patients who have a family history of thyroid cancers. Though we have been using these molecules for past 15 years when this was not approved for the purely obesity. So till that we have not seen, there is no studies have been come up with showing that drug is causing any thyroid cancer, but the guidelines say they should be avoided in those category of patients. So these are some important side effects which one should take care of this. But whenever you are starting this medication, patient need a supervision. He need to guide about the appropriate nutrition, about the protein intake. The muscle strengthening is very important. Everyone need to build up their muscles. That's a key vital things whenever you're starting these medications. And long-term monitoring with regards to your muscle mass, your enzymes levels is required, that one should undergo time to time.
That's very helpful. There is a question coming in on the regulatory aspect. This is from Mr. A.K. Bhattacharya. He's the editorial director of Business Standard. His question is, have we reached a stage where regulation needs to move beyond the retail chemist's level? Perhaps regulation should be imposed on the manufacturers of these drugs to make patients more aware of their risks. Ms. Sapale, would you like to take that question?
See, when it comes to manufacturers, they are actually going as per the regulations, in the sense they are allowed to manufacture a product once it gets off patent, and they are allowed to sell it at an affordable price. Where the responsibility comes is promoting the product to the doctor for different indications, because we see when many of the pharma companies are in a position to sell the USP to the doctor in a particular way, and doctors usually try to promote it in the same way to their patients. So if the drug is not meant for a particular indication, or if the dosage is not supposed to be the way it is, just to increase the consumption, if the promotion is not done in the right way, then it is a very irresponsible way of doing it. So at a manufacturer level also, there has to be stringent laws where you probably need to promote it in the same indications for which the innovator also promotes it, or the dosage has to be similar, because the clinical trials are done more by the innovators. Right now, we don't have a regulation that the same length of clinical trials are needed for the innovator to launch the product for the generic player to launch in the market. So they just go with the studies done by the innovator, same molecule, similar mechanism of action. So if that is the case, then the indication, the specialties, the patient mapping also needs to be the same as the innovator is doing it.
Thanks, Dr. Jha. Would you like to take that question? See, the patient should be, this, as I mentioned, the doctor should stick to the given indications. They, unless until we have data to show their benefit in the unregulated areas, like using PCOS or in fatty liver disorders, or in patients with obstructive sleep apnea. So the studies have shown, or the regulators have made an indication only for the use in patients with obesity, BMI of more than 27 or 30 with comorbid condition. We should be restricted till we have further evidences, scientific evidences on the other areas.
Another question that Sohini and we were discussing in the morning, can this become a preventive healthcare category over time?
Should I take the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, actually the question was for Dr. Jha.
Okay, Dr. Jha.
I can take the question, no issue. See, as I mentioned, there is a overhyped associated with this molecule, but underneath this overhype, there is a scientific shift happening that may be still underestimating, and for many decades, this obesity we take it as a disease of lifestyle, failure, or a disease of, behavioral abnormalities and lack of willpower. But with these molecules, they have reshaped the obesity into a chronic relapsing and neurohormonal and metabolic disorders. So these molecules, they act on the appetite signaling, the satiety signaling, the rewarding system, insulin signaling, or the energy homeostasis. So that has completely changed the structure framework of obesity care. So if these molecules are continue to show these beneficial effects, definitely there are chances that that can reduce the overall burden of diabetic incidences, cardiovascular disorders, or the fatty liver disorders, or the sleep apnea. And in fact, if you look at it from a long time perspective, the hospital rate of admissions can be reduced, dialysis can be reduced, disabilities can be reduced. So definitely, so these molecules, they have a long term going to have a long term impact on the health system in a good way.
Ms. Sapale, how do you see the future of this drug going forward? Say, after 2 years, if we were to have this discussion, what would be the talking points?
See, right now it is a lot of experimentation that is also happening with the generic segment. So there will be many patients who will get onboarded. Probably with the innovators with a higher price range, there were limited number of patients. So the dropouts, the visible side effects in terms of absolute quantum were less in number. Patients who are getting onboarded on this drugs, they increase the amount of the number of side effects, the number of dropouts, the number of unwanted effects like patients suffering from unwanted cancers, that will start increasing. Probably government, who is still, of late the government has become very strict and a lot of advisories have come in. But as the number of cases which are not favorable for the molecules, they also start coming up probably 1 year down the line, then probably that uptake would stabilize, it will normalize. Not everybody will be put on these drugs. It will be only the eligible patients who will be put on these drugs. Also, probably, today what has happened is, say 1 in 4 people in a metro are obese. That does not necessarily mean that that is the patient who is eligible for this set of products. We may just feel that, okay, this is the eligible population available. And just because many generics are coming in the market doesn't mean that the eligible population also increases at the same rate. Probably 1 year, the eligible patients will start getting onboarded. Not all of them, a few of them who can still afford it. But then that growth curve will stabilize. It will not increase at the same rate. So if you see SGLT2s or DPP4s, the moment it went off patent, there was a surge and now it has stabilized. So after 1 year, the consumption will stabilize because there will be so many patients who will also drop out because they will not be in a position to take that side effect. And then that entire hype about GLP-1, probably even that would cool down and people would actually become little more knowledgeable about, who should be taking it, who should not be taking it. Because while in today's time, it is like everybody's talking about this is a magic pill and, we are losing weight. But probably 1 year down the line, people will also be talking about side effects and why one should also not be taking or who should not be taking it. That discussion also would start 1 year down the line.
Thanks.
In fact, this kind of discussion has started now because we have been using this drug for 8 months. Now the patient is starting asking now, ma'am, when to reduce it, how to taper it off. Now we are having a lot of side effects. We are losing muscle. We don't want to continue these medications. So this kind of talk has already started in our clinical chambers.
Okay. That is good news. Sohini, it has definitely, caught the imagination of the masses. But as a writer, reporter, tracking the beat day and night, say 1 year down the line, do you think it will still make headlines? How do you see it? Just a guess.
It will probably make headlines. I was trying to look at the manufacturing expansion which is happening around this drug. So let's say between 2022 and 24, there was a global shortage. So Lilly and Novo Nordisk did not anticipate the kind of demand they saw. Eventually, since more indications and different specialists started prescribing, they have started pumping in money. I think $30 billion they've committed in creating capacities across the world for GLP-1. If you look at these companies, Novo Nordisk, the Danish pharma major, they are one of the major insulin makers. What these companies have also done is, now this drug manufacturing has three important points, if I have some time. One is you have to synthesize the peptide API. Not everyone has that capacity. Secondly, you need to have sterile injectable manufacturing capacities. Not everyone has that, auto injector assembly. Third is to have the device, which is like an insulin pen. So once a Lilly or a Novo Nordisk is expanding capacity, this entire supply chain is also trying to supply for that. And they are cutting down on insulin pen production and selling insulin in vials. That is an opportunity area where a lot of our domestic insulin players have seen, and they have captured a bit of the India market. We have seen that. So this entire restructuring of manufacturing, which is happening, and as the experts have been saying that 2 years down the line, with more patients on this drug, there will be side effects and some of the demand may taper down. What will happen then? I think we may be left with a lot of excess global manufacturing capacity. And I recently met Kiran Shaw of Biocon, who they make insulins, they make peptides, and they obviously have the end-to-end capacity to make the pen as well as the product, the drug substance. So she was saying that I am now looking at it as where can I maximize value, since everybody is running to make GLP-1, and now that they've become generic, so it will be a competitive pricing pressure kind of a market. Should I rather divert my energy into making insulin? So I think these are the questions we will probably be talking about 1 year down the line, when we'll actually have clarity on the demand had peaked, but can it stay there?
Interesting thoughts. Yeah, interesting, Sohini. We have completely run out of time, but I'll come to the speakers for the last time. We've spoken about demand. We've spoken about side effects, the regulatory steps, the future, everything. But I will come to Dr. Jha and to Ms. Sapale to ask you to we'll come back to the topic of the show today. It a magic pill? In one line again, Dr. Jha, what would you say? Is it a magic pill?
It is a magic pill if it is taken under supervision.
Thanks. Ms. Sapale?
Yeah, it is definitely a magic pill, but only for eligible patients. I mean, the people who should be taking advantage of this medicine, only for them it is a magic pill. The patients who should not be taking advantage of this pill, for them it is probably it's out of laziness that they're taking it. It is just a modification of lifestyle that they should be focusing on, because obesity, whatever said and done, is a cosmetic condition.
Sohini, last words?
I don't think it's a magic pill. It suppresses your appetite. If I have the mental strength to eat less and control my diet, I don't need the drug. So, so it's probably triggering a question that we all need to answer. But is it a magic pill? No, I don't think so.
It's triggering a question. So we'll meet sometime soon, I suppose, on the same topic to discuss more aspects. Thank you so much, panelists. It's been a great talk, a good conversation. Thank you all so much. And we'll see you next week, next Thursday, 2 p.m. with another topic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.